Welcome to another beautiful episode of In the Blue, where I get to bring the most amazing guests in our profession and in our driven community and tell their story and let them show you what they've been through and how they've taken their practices from, well, quite frankly, in the red to in the blue. And my guest today is our very own Dr. Bill Jensen from Port St. Lucie, Florida, who has a record career, I believe, of doing things that a lot of doctors have done in our profession of looking really, really successful from the outside and from standard definition of success, Bill was successful. He has built an amazing healthcare center, but I'm going to let him tell the story of the stress that came with scale and picking sometimes the wrong business partners or making the wrong business decisions and the importance of those decisions that really build your pathway. And where Bill is today compared to where he was just a few years ago is unbelievable. But I want him to tell the story. And so it is my honor and my privilege to bring to the stage Dr. Bill Jensen. Bill, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Corey. I'm excited to have this little chat here today because yeah, it has been a long journey for sure, but there is light at the end of the tunnel and blue light at that.
Yeah, man, I am so just impressed with you. And this is what's kind of my privilege working with doctors over the years and doing this a lot. Pretty quickly, I can see when I meet somebody and spend a little time with them, I can kind of tell like this is a person that's gonna they have the skills already. They're already driven, right? They're already a driven doc. They just need the frameworks. They just need the path. And that's where, unfortunately, our education system as chiropractors, we don't get that necessarily anywhere. There's a lot of consulting and business models out there that do a good job of getting new patients or, giving you a new patient system, but not really an operating system. And so walk us through the journey of your story and kind of how just I'm just going to turn it over to you because you've got an amazing story, and I cannot wait for our community to hear this.
Yes, it's a bit of a story, so I'm glad we have a bit of time. So I yeah, all in right now, I guess. Actually, this month I have been practicing 25 years. The first 8 years I spent as an associate chiropractor down in Broward County. Within 3 months, I was able and given the ability to take over as a clinic director of a practice. And I really thought that that model of a practice was really good. I mean, the doctor had five practices, all of them doing over $1 million each. However, that model was really primarily personal injury related. But at the same time, they did teach me a lot about keeping numbers, so I knew, we really had diligent tracking of our, scheduled new patients, of our show rate, of our, what we collected per patient per visit. What our patient visit average was, right? And so between like that knowledge and then just eventually becoming a partner with that organization on a small percentage as we opened up a new business, I felt after 8 years of doing that that I had what it took in order to open up my own business. So in 2008, I formed my company, Premier Wellness Centers, and it took off. It did really, really well. I certainly wouldn't say that I had systems in place per se on hiring or training, or I had scripts, basic scripts that the front desk would learn, basic scripts for a doctor for a day one visit, a day two visit, financial care plans that we had, which were kind of archaic now looking back at the time. But and truth be told, like I brought on a biller because I didn't know anything the first thing about billing and had a front desk and knowing we grew and grew and took off. And then I brought on an associate and I said, well, shoot, if I'm doing good right now with this one practice, why can't I open up another practice? And so yeah, him and I partnered up and we opened up a second office location about 2011. and that practice went from zero to collecting in excess of $200,000 a month, literally within 6 months.
Wow. That's
And
incredible.
so then and the main reason behind all of that essentially was that, I was really good at one thing and one thing only, and that was marketing. I was really, really good at going out and doing workshops, lunch and learns, dinner events, preferred provider networking, getting referrals coming in from attorneys and doctors and orthos and neuros and pain management doctors. So I was really, really good at that aspect of what we now know as the data waterfall at the very top of the funnel, right?
Yeah.
Um, but but I didn't really have anything else set up in place as far as managing, training, hiring, HR, anything else like that. So I was still kind of running two small mom and pop shops that were just doing incredibly well financially. And and basically what happened is I said, "Oh, okay, well, I'm going to open up a third." Right?
Why not? Why not,
Why
man?
not? Like, geez, I'm killing it at practice one. Practice two is destroying it, like blowing away records that practice one even did.
Wow.
We have all this revenue coming in. So now, I'm even going to do it bigger and better now because right at that time we were doing Chiro PT massage. And I just kept having this vision in my head that was like, what if we really did like a truly integrated practice? Like that was my like always my big vision and dream was what if we like worked with a medical doctor as a primary care physician, like, and he had like a true primary care office, but instead of them just being separate entities, like we worked on patients together to get them healthier and get them off their medication. And then they could also layer in some medical treatments in acute circumstances with my spine patients coming in that needed, an anti-inflammatory or beginning to get them through that pain phase until we got them well. So I brought on I got a 6,000 square foot practice with one half all medical, six medical suites, exam labs, everything for blood draws. And then my other half was the Chiro wing, with the PT and a whole PT bay and massages. And I brought on an MD out of school who did specialty in laser as well, and paying him over 200 grand a year salary. And then inevitably what happened is the cards started to crumble and the walls started to cave in. And the primary source we had, which was Cigna, switched their model and went to American Specialty Health, and like all of our visits went away there. The whole model changed, and literally, I had to shut down the third practice. I got out of my partnership in the second practice, and he went up to Jacksonville. I bought him out. We kept that on, but that practice was never the same.
Hmm.
And I just sat there, like, always constantly questioning myself, like how did this happen? Like I had like things rolling on all cylinders, like cranking. And then yeah, literally like basically had to revert to bankruptcy on two of my well, as an entity, the whole entire thing and stuff like that. And came to settlement agreements and everything else like that, and spent about 10 years digging myself out of that
Holy
hole,
cow.
basically. And
So
what I
what,
realized
yeah, hindsight, was it the
now, I
insurance
wasn't ready.
model? But was
Yeah,
it the insurance model that changed that caused the cash flow to stop?
basically. Yeah.
So
I
once
had
the,
all my eggs in one basket,
yeah,
which was insurance-based dependency.
got it.
And when that went away and the payer changed, it crippled
Hmm.
all three of my practices essentially.
Holy cow.
And so
And because you didn't have the business acumen to know how to pivot,
mhm,
everything just crumbled.
it crumbled. Yeah. I literally had to like I said, shut down the third. Eventually I now have eventually shut down the second one once our lease was up, and that happened maybe about a year and a half ago. Um, because even on that side of town, we did manage to pivot and we managed to kind of keep it, but the payer mix went that side of town again to Medicaid and HMO based players. So
Hmm.
even like all of my PPM referrals, they're like yeah, like we can refer you, but all we have on this side of the town these particular days is Medicaid and HMO plans,
Mm,
and good luck trying to get by, on those types of reimbursements.
yeah.
And I just, you just realize that there's so many different aspects to running a good, well-rounded, successful organization. And when you are really dominant in, like, I'm really good at marketing, which is one of the keys, that we train on, but you're not really good at any other key. Um, yeah, when that revenue source goes away, you're in big, big trouble for
Oh
sure.
my gosh. So share with me just a little bit, if you don't mind. What did that do to you just emotionally as a leader, as a leader in your community, a leader to your team members, when you
Mhm.
had to move to bankruptcy and actually contract a business rather than expand a business? How did that impact you?
Failure to some degree. I mean, I'm I have strengths and I have weaknesses as anybody does. One of my main strengths is like I'm gritty and I will not quit. So even when like faced with failure and something that would like most people would say like, well, maybe I'm not cut out to do this, like I still felt because I read a lot, and I understand that some of the most successful people in the world have been through bankruptcy, and failed and been, to the bottom of that, only to come back and do it bigger and better and learn from their mistakes. So that always was kind of in the back of my head for sure. But at the same time, it's like, yeah, like I had never not succeeded in business. I as an associate, I moved up the ranks and I grew and I elevated up to the level of clinic director and partner. I opened up a business in 2008 when everybody told me I was nuts because of the
The hard
depression that was
time.
going on, like financially in the housing market and everything. And I said, my statement I remember to one guy was like, cream rises to the top. So I said, I think the best of the best will always be okay, no matter the market, and that worked out. Right. And then I opened up a second business and crushed, and then all of a sudden now you're faced with like, wow, like I couldn't make this third one go. Maybe this vision is too big for me. Maybe I'm only really designed to have like
Mm,
one really good practice. And so, in conversations you and I've had, you're like, when you're going to open up more, now that I've figured it out, which I'm sure we'll talk about. Um, and I just leery, right? I just don't, I'm a
yeah.
little nervous. Um, Less and less nervous now that I'm starting to know what I know about how to operate a successful business, actually. But I just was like, nah, I don't really want the headache. I don't want like, all the different personnel and all the different personalities and the doctors and everything else like that. And, why don't I have just one big mega practice, that does like, 3, 4 million? Why would I not want to do that versus having more practices that do 1 million or something like that, right? So, but
Yeah.
yeah, the fear of failure, definitely makes me a little leery about wanting to open up multiple locations for sure.
Yeah, no, I get that for sure. So you already knew the importance of knowing your numbers. And what year did you discover Blue IQ? And obviously you already knew the importance of knowing your numbers, but how did just implementing Blue IQ help you automate that process?
Hmm. Yeah. Well, okay. So Blue IQ, I went to the Florida Chiropractic Association, annual event, which is August every single year to do my CEUs, and you had a table and a booth set up there, and Amber, who's my partner in business and in life, she knew about your company already, and she was already a little bit keen to like bringing on that application and software because historically before that we used an Excel spreadsheet, and she's really good at Excel spreadsheets, but I
Good.
remember painstakingly every single time that we would get to a new year, she would literally have to go in and manually update all of the cells and the formulas
Yeah.
for every single month, to populate all the tabs we had at the bottom and all of the formulas so that we could keep track of our new patients and our show rate and our OVA, PVA, all these different things that we were keeping track of and collections and whatnot. And it would take her like a better part of a week almost every single time between her
Holy
normal
cow.
activities that she was doing for the practice and such, and to set up these, well, what at the time for us were dashboards in Excel, and she hated it. So when she found out about Blue IQ, she's like, "Oh, thank God! Like finally something that can do and even do obviously way better than we're doing with this Excel spreadsheet." And I mean, every single day, my front staff had to like manually enter the scheduled new patients, how many showed up, how many completed, what we collected. So I feel sorry for some of the businesses that still do that in Blue IQ because their software doesn't populate that for them. But
Yeah.
um, yeah, when we found out about that, that was kind of the door, and we started using the software, and it was amazing. And now we could have more meaningful discussions administratively and as a team to kind of keep track of everybody. But what we found out actually right away with that is there are A players and B players on your team, and there is no doubt when we onboarded the Blue IQ system and rolled it out to everybody, I think I had 3 or 4 people leave the practice because they didn't want to be held accountable for their metric,
I hear that often.
which again at the time was not good, right? Because
Yeah.
now I'm like, oh, because one of the things I hate more than anything is the hiring and interviewing and training process.
Yeah.
I'm sure most docs would agree that's not the funnest part of practice,
No.
um, but a necessary part of it because, again, if they're not willing to be accountable for their data, then they're probably not really motivated to do well and exceed and excel at
It's
their
it's
position.
it's
So
so
it's good.
interesting how that shoe fits on both feet because I do find now over the years that the practices that embrace Blue IQ and love it are the business owners that love to be held accountable and are up for the challenge. And the
Mm.
ones that don't embrace it because they don't even want to be held accountable themselves, and then they wonder why their practices struggle. So there's definitely a two-edged sword there of if I'm going to hold my team accountable, I want to be held accountable. So together we now build this unbelievable successful practice instead of, hey, I'm going to hold you accountable, but I'm not going to be accountable as a business owner. Or I want A players, but I'm not willing to put in the systems that A players thrive in. So yeah, so now you're rolling out Blue IQ, you're starting to see it impact your team, you're starting to have data automation. How did you then get introduced and discover the data-driven practice and the driven operating system?
Uh, I'm pretty sure I did one of your challenges,
Nice.
is how it came to be. I for some odd reason maybe got an alert or saw it on Facebook or anything else like that. And I think that I want to say it was something about marketing, obviously, which always is my baby and I love.
Yeah,
And I think even that we went into maybe looking at our Facebook page and how we could improve our Facebook page,
nice.
and really focus on like a niche. And and this is important to say too, because um you talk about like different practice management companies and consultants and like their mindsets on how they train. I mean, where I came from as an associate, and we used CEO, Chiropractic Elite Organization, right? And then we had another one after that, but really they mainly were teaching one thing and one thing only, and what got ingrained in my head was volume. You want a really robust marketing system to generate as many new patients as possible. And then as a result of that, you want to do more what we call restorative care, or corrective based care, not acute care, to correct and stabilize them and get them into maintenance as much as possible. But you want, your patient visit average, to be 30 and up because that shows that you're doing more corrective care. And as a result of that, you have more revenue,
Yeah,
right? Well, yes and no, to some of those things, right? So I was still in that model of like taking like every person who walked into the practice, I mean, neck pain, back pain, shoulder pain, knee pain. And then we had the physical therapy base. So, of course, vestibular training, post-surgical knee, total hip, total, you know, knee, whatever post-surgically we did. So we were a primary care chiropractic physical therapy practice essentially.
Yeah.
And so when you talked about niches in that that first exposure I got to you and stuff, I was just like, wow, like what a concept, like where you specialize in like one complex condition that creates a bigger average case value. And then you weed out like all the like simple things that are like lower level types of problems. And then I think eventually, I remember when you said to me, I don't remember, it wasn't right away when I talked to you, you said, who makes more money, a primary care doctor or a specialist? And I was like, a specialist. And then you're like, exactly. And why is that? And I was like, because they specialize in complex conditions. And you're like, exactly. So, and then within that and looking at our overheads, yeah, the more people we saw, the more money we made, but the more people I had to employ in
Yeah.
order to like handle all the calls and schedule all the appointments. And I had three front desk people, I had three chiropractic assistants on the floor, I had massage therapists and all these PTAs. And I mean, I essentially in my
It's a
practice, though I
big
was like,
operation.
one chiropractor, I had the provider payroll of as if I had like five chiropractors on staff, right? Because of like so yeah, when I got exposed to like specializing in a niche and looking at ACV a little bit more and being able to like cut down on my overhead because I didn't have the volume yet I had the same amount of revenue, like that was the game changer, right? That was definitely the game changer for me. So, and then
Oh, cool.
understanding that when I was getting onboarded and going through the training process and all the keys and everything, like just realizing I was like, oh wow, like I should not even open up my second practice, like little third practice, because I had nothing in place that it would take to run a successful organization. I was just purely getting lucky, maybe not lucky, because I was grinding 6 days a week and working 60 to 70
Yeah.
hours, even on Sundays and marketing. And I was literally willing my success single-handedly in my practice without having
Yeah.
anybody else help at
Yeah,
all.
dude.
And that's not sustainable.
When I met you, I could not believe the number of hours you were working. Like it blew me away. Not not in a good way.
Well, and
I'm
that's
like,
and that's what and that's again was ingrained in me as an associate
yeah.
is we work 6 days a week at this practice, and then we would go out, 9 to noon is the hours on Saturday we would do, and then after that we would go screen at festivals all day Saturday and all day Sunday. We were 7 days a
Oh
week
my God.
grinding. And I remember it because you're influential when you're young like that. And he said the reason I have these practices is because I'm willing to do the things that nobody else is willing to do, work the hours that nobody else is willing to do. We're open till 7 o'clock at night because no other doctor's office is willing to stay open till 7 o'clock at night and work Saturdays. And that's be willing to do all the things that, or what do you say? Successful people are willing to do all of the things that unsuccessful people
Are
are not
unwilling.
willing to do the things that successful people do, but
Yeah.
successful people do those things anyway,
Wow.
And so that when I opened up my practice, I said, okay, we're open 6 days a week, 7 o'clock at night. We're working 24/7, and I'm gonna be successful no matter what it takes,
Wow.
and nobody's gonna tell me different. So,
Yeah, he
so
did
yeah,
a head case on you.
23
Yeah.
years,
Work
23 years of
harder,
that.
work harder, work harder.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you this. I want our audience to hear your story now of implementing the driven operating system and the six keys, what that did for your practice, and now moving towards an AI-driven practice with the driven OS. Can you walk us kind of through that and maybe even show us and share your screen of how you're operating your practice now, which is night and day different than what most chiropractors are doing out there to run their business.
Hmm. Yeah. So yeah, learning the data operating system was important. We got the Blue IQ, and we have all of our dashboards and everything set up. I'll share my screen just to kind of show you how, we have all that stuff set up. So here you can see the team scoreboard, of course, and everything flows, from new patients to a new patient acquisition cost to the show percentage to completed, and then this is a little low right now because we have a lot of day twos coming in between the end of this week and next week. So that'll pop up. But care plan acceptance, scheduled established for patients, the show rate, to production, to adjusted production per visit, to the percentage we collect, and the current monthly collections in our water line. So that's, and then I have each one of these coming down here, and even my dashboards that are more specific for niche on the neuropathy ROI and the DDP spine and disc ROI metrics. So we keep, diligent stats on all these things. So again, like how that changed how I practice is, you know, again, if you're trying to figure out like where is the issue occurring in your practice, that's where Blue IQ comes in so handy. Because if you're not, hitting the numbers on collections, you got to work your upstream and kind of see, where is that at. So I'll show you, for example, what we're working at with right now. Let me go to May just to kind of give you a better understanding. But so let's just say that, I'm not collecting the amount of neuropathy collections that I really want. Well, why would that be? Well, upstream, we're getting a lot of leads. Look at our cost per lead. It's
I
11
don't know.
bucks.
That's
It's
an
like ridiculous,
impressive,
right?
it's an impressive
That's
agency
ridiculous.
right there.
That's ridiculous, right? 43 day zeros,
Amazing.
29 of them showed. I mean, not terrible,
Not
as
bad.
far as like meta ads and
For
things
meta
like that.
ads, that's incredible.
But look at the day zero to day one conversion.
Yeah.
So out of those 29 individuals, only 8 of them completed a day one.
Well,
Now, there can be a lot of certain reasons why that might be occurring. I mean, we can make the argument that in some instances, um, maybe they were not a good lead. Maybe they had a particular type of neuropathy. I'm pretty particular on the neuropathies we come in. Like if somebody comes in and I can't honestly like say like why the root cause of their neuropathy is occurring, it's a very like atypical case. Um, I may not accept them. I might send them out and say, hey, can you go get like a nerve conduction velocity test done or some other test or go see this other like doctor to try to figure out like why you have peripheral neuropathy and then maybe come back. So I might not accept them into a day one because I'm like really confused about
yeah.
the complexity of the case. Or, is it just that we're not doing a really good job, raising the level of awareness in an exam and case acceptance scenario? And being able to articulate why insurance doesn't cover and have a big enough why where they're gonna say, yeah, I'm not going to use my insurance because my insurance and the traditional medical system has failed me up till now. And in order to get to traveling to Europe in 4 months, I'm going to have to invest in my health, right? So this is one thing, without Blue IQ, um, if I wasn't really keeping track of that step-by-step process in a patient journey,
Yeah.
how would I really know where to address my efforts? You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. I hear that all the time that my agency's just giving me bad leads. They're bad leads. They're bad leads. Or the front desk is they're bad leads because they're not showing up. Or and you followed the front desk new patient key. You have followed the exam and case acceptance key that you get in the data-driven practice education system on how to improve those sales, how to train the team, and so that there are specific ways to handle to help leads transform from I don't want to invest my own money out of my own pocket to my only option is to continue to suffer with this condition until it leads to surgery or invest in my own health through a specialist.
Mhm.
And now they're believing that your practice has the specialist skill sets to help them. So it's incredible.
Yeah. And I think it's part of the growth process too, because again, historically, I have practiced like a lot of doctors have, where they're insurance-based models. So there really wasn't, I mean, there's always sales in everything you do, but not at the level of when you have a niche and your niche is $6,000 plus and there's no insurance coverage whatsoever, and it's a different conversation that you're having with the patient on that level versus, I mean, even I can even show you like a perfect example. So in the spine and disc world, right? Let me go to the year here, right? So look at the day zero to day one conversion rate overall for the year in a spine and disc.
That's insane.
Why? Because
Wow.
there's partial insurance coverage,
Yeah.
right, with our Medicare patients that are say, yeah, there are definitely aspects of their plan that are going to probably be covered through your insurance. Some of the best parts of our care plans are not, but there's even a hint of insurance coverage almost doubles your conversion rate because again, it's a much easier conversation.
Yeah,
So,
it's a psychological concept. So this is
mhm,
incredible. I mean, you're knowing your numbers, you're knowing where to train your team, you have the training systems now to train your team. You're truly becoming the CEO of your organization.
mhm,
Obviously, with access to the driven operating system and the six key systems that you've been exposed to through the data-driven practice, you're utilizing prime marketing through the data-driven practice, agency services, you're doing social
yeah.
media marketing, you are an amazing marketer anyway. So you completely transform this business. Now with the evolution of AI and everything that's happening, how are you now moving to this concept of an AI-driven practice?
Well, this is probably the point where like it's most exciting to me because again, I've utilized all of the tools that you had, but very, very similarly to us keeping track of our statistics in Excel spreadsheets and doing all those types of things. Um, Regarding the data operating system and how we did that, we would have our daily huddles and our weekly, and our monthly and our quarterly and all our admin meetings and things like that and the marketing stuff. But where do you house that, right? Or when it comes to training, right? And I thankfully didn't get this done too well, but I had set it up, you know, there were fragmented like systems, right? So training, I'm like, okay, well, I think the best training platform to use for us is going to be Monday.com. And, we had a boot camp about that. So, okay, I created a Premier Wellness Centers Monday.com. And then we created, days 1 to 14 and on for the 90-day onboarding process for, front desk, existing patient, new patient, and maybe case manager, I believe. So we had that all set up and linked to the membership site so they can watch the videos and then linked up, and then we were creating um, cards for each one of our patients where they can put in, their favorite things and when their anniversary and their birthday and all that jazz, right? So we were setting that all up. But again, it was still like when you get done with like a quarterly meeting, I'm on an Excel spreadsheet, and now I'm saving that to my Google Drive under Q2 2025, right? And so it just was fragmented. But now, like holy cow, right? Now, as I'm showing you, we got the DOS AI operating system. And so now we can record every single meeting we have, upload that into the brain, right? And then, it remembers and it learns and it grows. It under you when you set up your prime movers
Can
and
you
your
show
critical
that? Can you
KPIs,
you click on that? Hey, in the bottom
the
corner where it
intelligence.
says learning mode, you can toggle that off because yeah, right there, just toggle that off. There you go.
Okay.
So yeah, so here's the practice brain. Explain just the concept of the practice brain in the Driven OS.
So the practice brain basically is kind of like our brain, like if you think about the practice as brain, like so this is where we're going to, go in, we can, do a leadership meeting, a team meeting, a sales meeting, a coaching session, KPI dashboard. You could take like when you're doing, for example, trying to establish your quarter 3 prime mover, your sprints, the KPI you really want to improve, you can take a snapshot of that Blue IQ dashboard like I showed you and upload that into the system, and the AI will analyze it for you. And you can put the meeting date, right? But any of these meetings in here, you basically can record them. Like I was talking to you before, I'm going to use Plod to record a transcript of any meeting I'm doing anytime, and then I upload that transcript into the practice brain. And then from there, it's going to then it's going to populate that into the driven brain, right? And then, so essentially, what's happening is like, think of your executives and your CEOs and your admin. You can think of this AI intelligent as a board member that sits with you that can be just another person to give you its 10 cents on what you should be doing and ideas. And you can basically use it like another administration person in your particular practice that will give you like rock solid information. So
It gets
it's awesome.
smarter the more you use it. So
Yeah.
click over to the driven brain. So here the practice, as you record and use it more, your practice brain is getting smarter and smarter. So right next to the practice brain tab is the driven brain tab.
Oh, gotcha.
Yep.
My bad.
So now
Yep.
here you can have conversations with with the melded brain of the two together. And the driven
Hmm.
brain is with business frameworks and best practices and analytics, and the whole driven operating system lives in the driven brain. So it helps your practice now run like a business, right? And with the AI tool tab right here, you can now see you have all of these options to generate marketing copy. You can build out your ideal patient persona. You can create SOPs from meetings where you're training your team on processes in the practice. They can now be turned into SOPs and documentation. You can generate images that are on brand to your brand guide. You can have team members practice objection handling. Because you're feeding the brain, it does a brain health score. So it can tell you if you're under feeding the brain or if you're keeping your brain healthy by continuing that cadence. And one of the coolest things is you or your team members can have an AI coaching session on your particular role within the business and have a coaching session with the driven brain to help sharpen your skills as a business team member on the team, whatever role that you play. So pretty dang cool. When you were onboarding your team, because you have a pretty big team with Monday, do you know how much your Monday bill was a month?
Oh, that's Dr. Worley's.
So I'll tell you what mine was because I've got a
But it's a
decent
lot.
sized
It's a
team.
lot when you have that many team
I was
members.
over $700 a month on just
Mm.
my Monday subscription. So go to the task board right here. So from the meetings now, it can generate and populate into your task board and go to the inbox right here. It'll go into the inbox, and then you and your admin team will have pending tasks that you can either approve and route to the right task board, whether that's a marketing task board, a front desk task board, an administrative task board. So you can reject, if the AI picked up a task that you've already done or doesn't really make sense, you can reject it. You have your own task board for your personal tasks right here. So that way you can kind of keep track of your own little to-dos. And that doesn't get mixed in with your team task board. And then if you click on the messaging system, not only do you have like a Monday.com, you now have like a entire Slack built into your team communication, which allows you to go through the process of building channels, having direct messages with team members. It's HIPAA compliant, so that way you don't have to worry about issues there. If you hover over your message from Amber, over on the right-hand side, click on that little widget. And that little
This one.
widget, yeah, it activates an AI that can take a message from a team member and detect if there's a task that needs to be created from it. This one didn't have a task, but if there was a task, like, hey, we need to meet and go over marketing for the next month, it'll literally identify that and create a task for you that you can put on your task board. So now you start seeing these tools and then go to learning right here. With learning in here, you can now begin to build your learning for your practice. You can create playbooks. You can access, depending on your level of membership, you'll be able to access the different keys and courses that will be available for you in here then to distribute to your team. So you can get access to the front desk uh, new patient key, and then your admin team can assign that to the right team member and track their progress going through the course. So now imagine what you've done already, Bill, with the success you've made. And if you had to, in a couple sentences, describe your business 10 years ago compared to your business today, how would you
Hmm.
explain that? And you were working 60 to 70 hours a week then. What does life look like now as a new father?
Working harder than ever as a new father.
As a new father.
Yeah, now I'm working 100 hours a week as a new father. Oh man, but that's yeah, that's a different job. But wow. Yeah, t 10 years ago working, 60, 70 hours a week, always grinding, waking up every day thinking, what's next? And still and headaches in the practice, a massive staff, lots of practices, and then the most frustrating part about all of it was not a lot of profit, to be honest with you, because again, we're doing, I think when I met you, I said, man, I can't get over $2 million. I just can't get over $2 million, no matter how many hours I work and the next best idea and grind as hard as I can grind. I just can't eclipse 2 million. Well, forget about the 2 million. What about the fact that like literally after 2 million, like if you did it like $1.9 million, which is what I got to, and you still only had a 5% profit because you literally had like, whatever the number is, $1.8 million in overhead,
Yeah,
and so to not have profit, and to work so hard and not have any money left over after all said and done, it's just so frustrating. And what does it take? And or do I literally have to get to 3 million in order to like have, and now we did over 2 million, right? So that was number one. But number two, we have profit,
wow.
so now it's like there's not that stress that you have to like push so hard just to get by, because if you don't, you won't have enough money to cover your overhead. And now, yeah, I'm not open on Saturdays anymore. First, that was the first step I did. Number two, because I had enough money and profit, I brought on an associate doctor. And so now I no longer work on Tuesdays any longer. So now, and even within my Monday, and I no longer work on Fridays, so that was the next step. So now I'm officially Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, 3 days a week. I work
Like half,
25 hours roughly.
half of what you were working.
Yeah, 25 hours a week. My staff has, as you know, has went way down. I have a part-time DPT 2 days a week, 20 hours versus 40. Don't have four PTs, I have two. No three front desk, two CAs. And yeah, my practice is healthy finally.
That's insane, Bill. So you truly have embodied this journey that we talk about going from drifting to driven. Meaning you were putting in the hours, you were working harder, not necessarily smarter. You had some false
Mhm.
beliefs, some bad business models that you had learned from mentors. And now here you are just a few years later, now implementing a fully AI-driven business where you're working half the hours, you're more profitable, less team members, so less headaches, and
Mhm.
you truly now have time to do things that you love to do, like coach our community, like be able
Yeah.
to have time for your daughter and your wife, who
Mhm.
are beautiful and amazing, both of them.
Mhm.
What a different world. And I'm just so honored, Bill, that to see this, to be a part of your journey, and just so excited for your next year and everything that you have coming.
And now, dare I say it, now, I mean, more than 50% of my practice is cash now, right? So now, dare I say, I wouldn't be scared to open up another practice because I know a cash-based practice can go anywhere, and
Yep.
do it.
You're in the Evolve program, which is all about the concept of this, not that you have to, but learning how to run a business that scales to multiple locations. Because if now that you understand those concepts, operating one business is kind of like, I
Mhm.
can kind of do this in my sleep.
Yeah. Yeah, we have the systems in place and yeah, that's the once you master the systems, then you just got to be able to replicate it and success leaves clues. So, and to be in the community that we're in right now, and there's lots of docs that are getting multiple practices, and yeah, it's awesome, man. So I'm super honored and pleased that I joined the journey with you, and it has changed my life and my business's life forever, for
Oh,
sure.
cool, bro. Dude, I'm so proud of you. This is
Mhm.
In the Blue, Dr. Bill Jensen, a legend. So grateful to have you a part of this. Thank you for being vulnerable. Thank you for being transparent and sharing. Because, growing and scaling businesses is not a solo sport. You don't have to do it by yourself. There are communities being built to help you and empower you with these very skill sets. And now we can accelerate that with the AI-driven practice. And if you want more information, just click the link below. We look forward to welcoming you into this amazing community with even a free 14-day trial. Thank you, Bill. Have an amazing day. Keep up the great work.